The more hectic and technologically busy our world becomes, the more people are searching for alternatives, simpler ways of living and greater connection to the land. And this woman in France has found a perfect way of doing just that.
Bonjour, I'm Marie. I live in South Brittany in a fairground caravan, and welcome to my land. This land is 1.8 hectares with forest. On my land I have a fairground caravan, 2 semi-buried cabins, a shed and a tiny house where I lived before living in the fairground caravan. In fact, I've been moving a lot during these last 20 years. I began to buy a house to renovate because I couldn't afford a new house. I didn't have any skills at start about renovating, so I helped friends who were renovating their houses. And so I learned by looking to videos and by just doing things. So I've been doing this for 7 years to renovate 4 houses. And I had my son at that moment as well. And when he was 1 year old, I decided to sell those houses, to move, to change. And I decided to build a house from nothing, a big one. Just had some knowledge about renovating the houses before, but I didn't know how to build houses. So it was quite an adventure. And it took me 1.5 years to build it. Then I lived in for 2 years, and after I wanted to change and to experiment nomadic life, so I sold it, and I went from 180 square meters to 3 square meters to live in my van with my son. And so we went on the roads. After 1 year living in my van, I wanted a bit more space for my son and I, so I found a tiny house. And it was quite huge comparing to the van, 6 by 2.5 meters. 13 square meters felt like a castle comparing to my van, so it was quite good. And each of us had his own mezzanine, so it was quite huge. So we lived in the tiny house for 3 years, but we had to move a lot because in France it's quite difficult to legally live in a tiny house. And at each time I was moving, I had to move with my horses, 2 dogs and a cat and my son. So it was quite an adventure at each time I had to move. And 4 years ago, a friend of mine told me, well, I've got a land. If you want, you can buy it. It was just perfect. So it's that land. I bought it just before COVID. After 3 years living in the tiny house, my son was growing up and he wanted his own room, a real room. So first of all, I decided to live in a boat. So I had the permits to sail. And then I was looking for boats, but it was quite difficult to have a place in a port. So I said, okay, I'm gonna have my boat on my land. And I didn't find any carrier to put the boat on the land. They didn't want it. Was no, it's not possible. Okay. I left the idea and I looked to ads and I found this fairground caravan. It was just perfect for me. It was quite huge. And my son has his own room with a door. For a teenager, it's quite good. So the fairground trailer is 10 meters long, 2.5 meters wide, and there is an extension that adds 1.5 meters wide on 6 meters long. When you are on the land, you open it, and when you want to drive, you close it. So it's very practical when you want to move. It was not enough insulated, so I added insulation by the exterior and cladding to look more like a tiny house. I have several activities: a geo-biologist, animal therapist, and graphic designer. And as I wanted to be more legal on my land with the tiny house, I began an agriculture activity with medicinal plants. So I began with a greenhouse, but it was not enough insulated. So I heard about walipini, which are semi-buried greenhouses. They're from Canada. And so I made one, and it was just perfect for the plants. And as I made it, I found it was quite cool to live in during summer. So it gave me the idea of building a semi-buried cabin in the forest. Because in the fairground trailer in summer it's quite hot. So I built two semi-buried cabins, one for my son and one for me. I used only materials I had already on the land. Usually in summer, I live in my cabins in the forest. It's colder than in the fairground caravan. And I have a kitchen outside. As I don't want to use gas for anything, I use the wood. So to cook during the summer, I built a rocket stove with the clay of my land. So I just have to put some trash wood and it's enough to cook my meals. As I like to experiment things in my life, I wanted to experiment self-sufficiency. So I bought solar panels to have electricity. I'm grid connected for water, but I mostly use rainwater collectors. So if I'm cut out from water, I can be self-sufficient with my collectors. I have three different ways to warm my water. One is with the solar panel, a small boiler. If the day is sunny, I can use it. Then I have what I call the R2D2 that I built myself. It's a wood boiler. It's made from all the gas bottles. The one on the bottom, I put the fire in it, and the one at the top, I put the water. So after 15 minutes of fire, the water is hot enough. Then I put it in a bucket and I go inside my bathroom to have my shower. I've got two solar air heaters to warm the air in the trailer and one for my shed as well. When the sun is out, I can have 2-3 degrees more than outside. So the background is black and the sun is warming the glass. And the air is rising from the top and circulating like in a maze and is going out at the bottom to send the warm air in the trailer. So I like low-tech tools. So another one of my tools is a laundry bike. I made it with a training bike I found in the trash and an old laundry. When I'm cycling, I put a book in front of me, so I'm reading during sports and cleaning my clothes at the same time. Okay, so we finished outside, so now let's go inside. Welcome inside. So as you can see, it's a very simple design. It's not like a fancy design you can see in tiny houses. But it's my way of life, and as I moved a lot, I couldn't have that much furniture, so I just had the basic ones. On the ceiling we can see the dimension of the extension. There is a small height difference. To have 4 meters wide is quite comfortable compared to a tiny house which is 2.5 meters wide. So at the entrance we can see a cabinet, beautiful cabinet, which was painted by the previous owners. They painted it for their daughter, and the dimension of the cabinet was just perfect for the space I had. Just 1 centimeter more was not possible, so it was just made for this place. Beside it there is the only furniture I have from my grandmother. Very simple, but the emotional value is more important for me. Then the living room, I don't have any couch. because I wanted more space. So I just have two rocking chairs. And if I have gas, I use a chair I made myself with pallets and cotton. This chair is foldable and light because I wanted everything inside to be the lightest possible. I made the table with second-hand wood. I put it on wheels to be able to move it if I need more space. I don't have any dining table because I don't need it. As I lived in my van and the tiny house, I got used not to have any dining table to eat on. I just put my plate on my tray and it's okay for me to eat like that. I've got many oracle cards, I love it. And when I've got a question or when I need more clarity about situations, I use my oracle cards. As I cultivate medicinal plants, I transform them, and my balms are specific for the skin to heal and calm bites and cuts. My parents bought me this guitar when I was 6 years old, and it was too big for me. I was too small, so I had to wait 2 years to be able to play with it. So long time. As a geo-biologist, I love secret shapes, and especially the flower of life. So I've got many. I've got one under the water to give good energy to the water, and another one under my stones. Everything you put on the flower of life is charging in good energy. Next, this is my bedroom and the bed of my little dog who sleeps beside my bed. It's a very simple bedroom. During summer, I have a mosquitoes net. Makes me feel like a princess in a castle. So that's it for the bedroom, not much more to say. And then there is my desk. And then after, we can see my wooden stove that I light on from October to April. I use it to warm the trailer, to cook and to warm the water. So this metal bucket looks like a trash bin, but it's not. It's my third way of heating the water to take a shower. After 1 hour, the water is enough warm and I can take a shower. I use it when it's not sunny outside and when I don't have enough electricity to warm the boiler. Then the kitchen. The way I cook my meals depend on the season and on the weather. During summer, I use a wooden oven and a rocket stove outside. And during winter, I cook with my wooden stove inside. And very rarely, I use my gas to cook. Sometimes a bottle of gas lasts about 2 years. As a fridge, I have a cooler during summer. And during winter, it's just a cabinet outside. I don't eat meat, so I don't need a real fridge. Then it's the second part of the trailer. After seeing the extension, it's now just 2.5 meters wide. Over here, we have the bathroom on the left with campus toilets and a small bath where you can sit in. And I made the cabinet with second-hand wood. And as it was too wide to go through the door, I had to build it inside the bathroom. And finally, behind me, there is my son's room. My son loves sleeping high, so I put 2 mattresses. Then this cabinet was painted by a grandmother for a grandson. And the grandmother of my son bought it for him when he was 1 year old. So it's one of the furniture I always take with me since 15 years. My son loves it. It's his cabinet. I've been living here for 3 years in this trailer. It cost me 10,000 euros and all the solar system cost me 3,000 euros. I love living here. It's enough for me. I don't like big spaces anymore, but I want to go back to my nomadic life with my van. I want to visit France to see landscapes, to practice my activities living in my van. So I'm gonna hit the road again soon and practice as a geo-biologist and animal therapist. A part of a geo-biologist's skills is to be a dowser. That means finding water underground. And the other part is being like a doctor for houses and their inhabitants, resolve the electric problems, magnetic fields that can impact on the body. And my job as an animal therapist is communicating with them and being the link between the animal and its owner. I do as well massage, energetic healings, all stuff to make them being well. My life motive is to tend to live in self-sufficiency in all the ways, with electricity, with water, with food, with medicine, with everything in my life. The same for the building. That's why I learn how to renovate and build houses, to be able to do it by myself. I would like many people to tend to self-sufficiency. It would be better for everyone, for the planet, for us, for the way of living. That's why part of my activity is to share my knowledge about construction, geo-biology, therapy and music, and all I do, I transmit, I teach it, because I think it's important to share our knowledge.
Watching Marie's story, I feel as though she's a woman who has lived 100 lives in a single lifetime. There is just so much that she's accomplished, so much that she's experimented with, so much that she's learned, and I love the way that she is really embodying that and also making it her life's mission to share all of that with other people. It really is a beautiful home that she's created for herself, but it's really a beautiful life.